welcome to episode number 22 of the Rabe Creations podcast. My name's Nicole, and I'm coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, here in Canada, where I live with my husband Barry and my beautiful, wonderful rescued Rottweiler named Grace, who happens to be laying right at the foot of my tripod. So if there's any jingling heard or any movement seen, chances are it's her. So, let me see. So much to talk about. It's been almost 3 weeks since my last podcast. I was supposed to record on Monday, but life, as sometimes happens, gets in the way. So here we are on Saturday. And it is a special Saturday because, yes, it is my birthday. You knew it was my birthday month. I am recording on my birthday. So, happy birthday to me. I have birthday yarn to show you. Oh, yes, I do. But moving right along. So let me see here. First of all, I need to say welcome to all of my returning subscribers. It is so nice to see you. And hello to everyone who is new. The subscribership has jumped significantly in these past 3 weeks. So thank you everyone who has come on by and hit that like button and decided to spend some of your crafty interweb time with me here at Rabe Creations. It is much appreciated. That being said, if this is your first time here, feel free to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and come back and spend time with us again. If you really, really like what you see here, you could always hit the share button too. Alrighty, so let me see here. The weather, because you know everybody likes an update on the weather, has been really cold still. Yesterday was actually really nice. It was up to like -3, so it was quite pleasant out, and you know, it felt like you didn't even need to wear a jacket because that's what happens when it's cold for a while and suddenly it gets a little bit warmer. It feels like summertime. But then storm came through last night and dumped a bunch of snow on us and lowered our temperatures back down, so we're back to the cold snap. Yay! Let me see, other than that, chances are this episode may be a little shorter than some of the others. It is a little light on content when it comes to finished projects and that sort of thing. Why, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. I have been having some wrist issues. So apparently, when you crochet like a madwoman, and you spend hours and hours and hours a day doing it, you end up giving yourself repetitive stress injuries, which is what's happened to my left wrist, which is a little odd because I'm right-handed, so I crochet, I hold my hook in my right hand, but it's my left thumb and wrist that I'm having problems with. Go figure. So I have had to do some cross training. So that meant a dive down the cross stitch rabbit hole. Now, I used to do a lot of cross stitching, and I haven't done it for a really long time. I'm talking many years. But I found a pattern on Etsy, the great enabler Etsy, and purchased it, and it was a little kit that came in the mail, and I started stitching on it and rediscovered my love for cross stitch. So I have a couple of cross stitch patterns on the go. One is quite difficult and one is quite simple. So I can switch back and forth between the two of them depending on the quality of light at the moment. You'll understand when I show them to you. And then I've got my crochet projects on the go as well, so I can switch back and forth. If my wrist is starting to get sore from the crochet, I can switch over to the cross stitch and give it a bit of a rest. So that has helped and allowed me to remain creative, because if I'm not continuously doing something with my hands, I feel like I am missing something. I need that constant doing things to feel right about life. So what am I wearing? Well, I'm wearing many, many layers because it's cold out. I am wearing my everyday cardigan that I have shown a few times now. It is a free pattern on Ravelry by Sorella. Yes, we talked about the arm length issues, and we talked about some of the things that went right with this cardigan and some of the things that went wrong with this cardigan. Overall, it is a great piece. I wear it quite often. It is a good one for throwing on when you're feeling a little chilly, when you don't actually need a jacket, but you need something a little bit warmer than just short sleeves to go outside. It's perfect. What else am I wearing? I am wearing my Skogan Peak cowl. So this was the cowl that I showed you last podcast that I had designed up myself. And I had put the call out for testers. And I had some wonderful, wonderful viewers of the podcast who got in contact with me and offered to test for me, and they did a fabulous job. And I am happy to say that the Skogan Peak cowl is live on Ravelry. So if you would like to go on over and take a peek, I will leave the link to my Ravelry store right down below. Feel free to click on that and go take a look. Thank you to everyone who has purchased it so far. It warms my heart to get that little notification that somebody has found something that I've designed to be worthy of purchase. So thank you so much. And to those of you who have hooked it up or begun to hook it up and have opened up Ravelry pages and project pages and linked those project pages to my pattern, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so worthwhile for you to do that. It really helps when people are sort of searching through patterns if they see other people's interpretation of patterns. I don't know about you, but when I'm going on Ravelry and looking for patterns, I always do click on the projects pages and take a look at what other people have done. So thank you, thank you, thank you. A big thank you also, before I forget, to Debbie of the Canadian Crocheter, who did a massive shout out on her channel in regards to the cowl and showed her cowl that she has already made, and I believe she is on cowl 2 as we speak. So thank you, Debbie. It was much appreciated. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier. So thank you very much. So that was the second pattern that I have released on Ravelry ever and this year. So yeah, the designing bug has bit. And you'll understand more about that when I get into some of my finished projects for the pass-through period, because I have yet another design. It's not quite ready to go yet. I am still working out some of my numbers, but it should be ready in a couple of weeks, so that's pretty exciting. The prototype number 1 is complete, so yeah. All right, so that is my rambly introduction to today's podcast, and let's move right in to some of those finished projects. Okay, finished projects, here we go. So starting out, let me show you my newest design that I have been working on. Here it is right here. So it is, as you can see, a fade. It works from sort of the lightest of grays all the way up into a true black. So it's got 4 different colors. It's a 4-color fade, starting with grays, moving through a darker gray into a charcoal, and then finally to a black. And it is this is the largest of the sizes. So this is a 1X to 3X, but this is a hooded poncho. So it does have a pom-pom on it. Of course, the pom-pom will be optional. The hood, as you can see, fades from the black of the shoulders through the colors until the light gray that it started with at the bottom. So that's kind of neat. It is finished on the sleeves. As you can see, there are still some strings. As I said, this is my prototype. It is finished along the armholes, along the bottom of the poncho, and along the hood and the front of the neck with a crab stitch detail. So it really does finish off those edges. Now you could easily do a fringe along the bottom as well, which I think would look fantastic if you so desired. But I liked the plainness, but you know, there's something about a fringe. Maybe on the other size, the smaller size that I'm working the numbers out for now, I will add that fringe just to see what it does. So I made the prototype out of Loops and Threads Impeccable. You know me and my Loops and Threads Impeccable. I use it a lot. But really it could be made out of any 4 colors of Aran weight yarn if you wanted to keep the sizing the same. Of course, you can play around with your yarn weights and your hook sizes to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. The fade is fairly easy. One of the things that does happen with this fade, though, is that you end up with a lot of ends to sew in. So if you're not a fan of sewing in ends, I would suggest you do it as you go. For me, I don't mind at the very end to spend that, hour or so watching some YouTube videos and, potentially sewing in all my ends. So that is a faded poncho, and I am calling it the Ghost River Fade Poncho. Ghost River is actually a river that is right near where I live. So yeah, you may have noticed that I am trying to name my projects after what's around me. So using local landmarks as my name inspiration. So yeah, that is the Ghost Lake Fade Poncho. And hopefully for the next podcast, I will have worked out all of the numbers, have the smaller size as well, and be ready for some testers. So keep that in mind. So the next thing I would like to show you as a finished object is a cross stitch. And it's the little kit I was talking about. And here it is here. Isn't that adorable? So it's obviously a bumblebee on a honeycomb. It is a small little project. It was fairly quick to work up. It took me about a week of on and off stitching. It is available through Etsy. The shop that I purchased it from, of course, I will link below. It's called the Wistfulbird, and it is a Canadian shop. It is an original design by the Wistfulbird. It is stitched on 14 count Aida cloth. And it is all full cross stitches. There's no specialty stitches or anything in there. I think one of my favorite things about this design is if you look at the wings of the bee, you can see his legs through the wings. And where his legs stick out from the wings, they're black, but where they're behind the wings, they're gray. So it really gives that sense of dimension. Yeah, so that's that. It is completely finished onto the hoop. And it is finished without glue, so everything is laced in the back, and then a blanket stitch is used to attach the felt to the back of the work, and it'll just live in its hoop, which is going to go into my new studio, which is also almost ready. So next podcast is going to be pretty exciting. There's going to be lots of new things to show you. But that is my little cross stitch and my the poncho, the fade poncho, and those are the two projects that I have finished over the past 2.5 weeks. Alrighty, so on to some current projects in a few moments. Alrighty, so on to some current projects. I have nothing to show you on the hook. You heard that correctly. Nothing to show you on the hook. I am just in the process of starting to put my next poncho on the hook. Other than that, I haven't worked on any of my crochet projects. I was pretty focused on the fade poncho, and there was some, ripping out and redoing and ripping out and redoing, but one is completely completed, as you saw in the last segment. So, as I said, wrist issues have caused me to do some cross training and using cross stitch to do that. So I do have 2 cross stitch patterns that I am currently bouncing back and forth. One is fairly intensive. It is a black and white full coverage piece, and it is not something that I can work on in bad lighting. So it has to be worked sort of during the day in really good lighting because the color changes are so subtle. And then the other one is a little bit more of a fun piece. So let me start first with the more complicated one. So this is a picture of what it will look like. Isn't that neat? So it's actually a photograph of a crow that has been turned into a cross-stitch pattern, and it is called, quite fittingly, Crow. It is by Stoney Knob Farm, and again, it is a downloadable pattern on Etsy. It is a paid pattern, but that's all right, because I don't mind paying for people's work. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is where I've got so far with it. So I do have a a clip frame. I've never used one of these before. When I used to do a lot of cross stitching, it was all just done in hoops. This is a fairly new thing to me, but I figured I would grab one and see how it goes. And to be honest with you, the jury's still out on it. I'm not sure how much I appreciate it yet, but you know, I'm going to keep going with it. And this is what I've done so far. It does not seem like a lot, but there's probably 300 to 400 stitches there. I know that sounds ridiculous for that little space, but that is cross stitch. There is also 5 different colors there, so I'm not sure how much the camera is picking up of the subtleness of the color changes. They are extremely subtle. The way the pattern works, as you can see around the outside of the picture, there is a dark frame that fades into the lighter colored background, and that's kind of, I'm in this corner right now. So just working that dark corner as it fades into the lighter background. So that is that one, and I will be showing it probably not every time because it's not going to see a significant amount of change from week to week, just because it is so intensive and not necessarily something that I can work on a lot. So because that one is a little more intensive, and I needed something to trade off with as well, so we're ending down, I am also working this one. Now this one is a little bit funny. I'll give you a little bit of backstory first. My youngest son, Riley, who used to do all my photo editing, or all my video editing, is a movie buff, and he really does enjoy what we would call B-movies, you know, older horror movies, that sort of thing. So when I found this pattern on, again, Etsy, I knew it would be perfect for him. So this is it right here. It says, "Welcome to Camp Crystal Lake." So anyone who knows horror movies will know this reference. If you know the reference, put it underneath. Yeah, put it in the comments if you've picked up on the reference to this. Now, of course, this is a black and white picture because, you know, I don't do color printing. But it is, the piece itself is done obviously in color. And the sign itself is a sign that was in the movie. So it is an image taken directly from the movie, and I can show you where I'm at with that one. So this one is a smaller piece, and I haven't been using a hoop or a clip frame or anything else. I've just been holding the Aida cloth in my hand as I go. So this is being worked on a 16 count Aida cloth. So it's a little bit of a denser stitch than the crow that I showed you. And we've got "Welcome to," and a little bit of blood splatter because, you know, it is a horror movie. So that's what I've got done so far. I was working on it a little bit last night. And yeah, so this is the easy pattern. It is not a full coverage piece. So a full coverage piece, the crow, the entire canvas will be covered with stitches. With this one, the words and the picture that go underneath are stitched, but it will leave the white, the negative space will just be the Aida cloth showing through. So that is that. So I should let you know that this pattern, the Camp Crystal Lake pattern, is again an Etsy pattern, and it is by an Etsy shop called Witchy Stitch. Again, I'll link everything below. And she is actually out of Penticton, so she is a Canadian designer. Yay, Canadian designers. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that one too, and I think it'll make a very interesting addition to my son's new basement suite, because yeah, it's one of those references that people will get or they won't. So yeah, it's a good one. I'm quite excited about that one. So those are the things I've been working on. As I said, I don't have any progress on my other poncho to show you, but by next podcast it should be completed, and it's the smaller size, and then I will be looking for some testers, and hopefully we'll get that poncho out in time for camping season, because you can always use a poncho when you're sitting around the campfire. Yes, so that was sort of my inspiration. Alrighty. So those are the projects that I am currently working on, and next I will share with you some information about our ongoing cow. that is almost complete, but still a little bit more time. All right, so a little bit of a make-along cowl update. So those of you who have been on this podcast or listened to this podcast or viewed this podcast in the past will know that I have been running for the past 2 months a make-along, crochet-along, knit-along, create-along on Ravelry. And the inspiration behind it was color work. It's where the inspiration for my cowl came from. I did and showed a sweater that I did with a cowl or a color work yoke that I was wearing in my last podcast. So yeah, it's been interesting. We've had good participation, a little slow at the startup, but people have really jumped on board. All different kinds of interpretation of color work. The chatter thread has started to get a little bit busier, and I'm thinking that after the make along is finished, I'm just going to leave that chatter thread open to continue to allow for a place for questions to be posed. There seems to be a lot of questions still around color work in crochet, and you know me, I am really trying to move crochet out of the expected realm that it lives in and show people that we can do amazing things with our crochet hooks, that crocheting is not just for making blankets and home decor items and stuff like that, that we can make wearable, usable, beautiful garments with crochet. And that we can do things like color work, that it is not just the realm of the knitter. Now, crochet is a much younger craft than knitting. Now, there is some debate on where it came from and where it originated, but we can all agree that crochet as a art form, as a craft, has been around a lot less time than knitting. So, of course, there is more opportunity for knit. There are more patterns for knit. There are more people who knit. It is a more understood craft, whereas crochet is still a little bit on the fringe. Perhaps that's why I'm attracted to it, because it's just weird enough to be right for me. That being said, as I said, I think I'm just going to leave that thread open in the cowl once the make-along ends on Ravelry, just so that if anybody continues to have questions, finds great patterns, they can continue to post them. Oh, the words. Can continue to post them on there and sort of spread the color work crochet love. So the cowl itself does end on the last day of February, which is the 28th, and I will be closing those threads. As I said, I'll reopen the chatter one, but I will close the threads as they stand midnight my time on February 28th, so that we can make some draws for some prizes, because there are some prizes up for grabs. So there are 3 ways to win prizes in this crochet along, make along, create along. First, there is the finish projects thread on Ravelry. So any finished color work projects that you would like to share, post a picture on the finished projects thread, and you will have for each project 1 entry. So please, 1 picture per project, and no chatter on that thread, please. It makes it a lot more difficult to draw a winner. So the second way in which you can win a prize is through the chatter thread. So if you've got questions, if you've got some advice to give to somebody, if you just like to get in on the chatter, please feel free to post in the chatter thread, and you will be able to, for each individual chatter, that it will be an entry. So by all means, come on over and join the discussion. All of the links are down below. And the third way, and potentially the most lucrative way to earn a prize, to win a prize in this make-along, is through Instagram. I do have an Instagram tag for the make-along, and it is DRC Colorwork 2019 Colorwork spelt with the O-U-R. So DRC Colorwork 2019, or DRC Colorwork Cal, sorry, 2019. Again, I'm going to link it below. I know it's a really, really long hashtag, but the reason why I said it may be the most lucrative way for you to get a entry is there are only 7 posts using the hashtag, and 5 of them are mine. So, or 4 of them are mine. There are three posts in there that aren't my own posts. So I would say get on over to that Instagram post, hashtag your makes with that hashtag, and you will be entered as well. So 3 ways to enter on the cow. It's all about color work, and it does end fairly quickly. So get on in there. Get on in there if you want to participate. As for prizes, the lovely Hannah from the Cozy Cottage Crochet has kindly donated some patterns. So the winners will be receiving a pattern from Hannah, and I am going to be, there's going to be project bags and potentially some other goodies in there as well. So well worth entering. All right, so moving on from the crochet along, and we will get into a few of my new acquisitions. All right, so as I said, it is my birthday month, and in fact, it is my birthday today. Now, I started a tradition last year of purchasing some special yarns for myself for my birthday. And last year, I ordered from 2 separate dyers. This year, I've just ordered from one. Same amount of yarn, but just from a single dyer. And that is Amy Florence from Stranded Dyeworks in the UK. I watch Amy's podcast. In fact, she's one of the first podcasters I started to watch when I was discovering the world of YouTube. She is primarily a knitter, but she is an amazing hand dyer. She dyes the most amazing yarn colorways ever. She's also a fairly accomplished spinner, and she's just a riot to watch. So I have placed an order and I have received my order from Stranded. So I ordered 4 skeins of DK weight yarn, and it is 100% merino, and it is absolutely beautiful. So the first colorway that I'm going to share with you is this beauty right here. So it is lots of teals and blues and purples, and oh my goodness. The colorway is called Pigeon Fancier, and it is absolutely stunning. It is so soft and squishy. The depth of color is just absolutely amazing. I have started purchasing quite a bit of a DK weight yarn. I am hoping to work a little bit more with DK weight instead of always the fingering weights. I was on a sock yarn kick for a really long time, and this, of course, is a little bit thicker than the sock weight yarns. Yeah, there may be a shawl pattern in my future. So along with the Pigeon Fancier came 2 additional skeins of yarn from Amy, and there they are. So this is a lovely gray, lots of depth of color to the gray. The colorway is called Gloom, and it is the same 100% superwash merino DK as the Pigeon Fancier. It does have a darker gray all the way to a quite pale gray. It's not a terribly dark gray. It is, as the name suggests, a gloomy gray. I really like this. Yeah, it has the depth of color that I appreciate. It's not solid. It's got depth to it, and I quite like this. So those were my birthday present to myself from Stranded in the UK. Thank you, Amy, for once again dyeing the most amazing colorways ever. So, then my husband. So as I've said before, he is my biggest enabler. And he purchased me yarn for my birthday. He went into one of the local yarn stores and purchased hand-dyed yarn for me for my birthday. This is a big step. So, this is the yarn that he presented to me today. So it is a Hedgehog Fibers, and for those of you who don't know, Hedgehog Fibers is a Irish yarn company. So it is a hand-dyed yarn from Ireland. It is 100% merino, and it is a skinny singles. So it is a fingering weight, but it is 100% merino. There is no nylon in this. It is not a sock yarn. It is just a beautiful single. I love singles. It is gorgeous. Great colors in here. Purple is my all-time favorite color, so of course, you know, he went with the purple. Lots of speckling in here. There's blues. There's different shades of purple all the way into almost a black. But it's also got yellows and greens and oranges, and oh, it is absolutely stunning. The yarn colorway is called Birthday Cake. Isn't that beautiful? And again, super, super soft. There's no itch factor to merino at all, in my opinion. Yeah, this may have to become a nice, lightweight shirt, a sweater of some sort that I can, you know, a spring weight shirt, sweater. Yeah, see, the design juices are flowing again. But isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I was so excited that, you know, he went into a yarn store and picked out yarn for me. If he had gone online and ordered it, that would be one thing, because that would be more in his comfort zone. But yes, totally stepped out of his comfort zone. Thank you so much. Yay! Lots of yarn. Birthday yarn. Yes. So those, other than all of my cross-stitch supplies that I have been buying, because, you know, I haven't cross-stitched in years, so I had to get many, many skeins of floss and Ada cloth and snap frames and all the things. But other than all the cross-stitch stuff that I've shown you, those are my new acquisitions for the week, the month. Yes. Happy birthday to me. All right. So we are about to wrap things up for the day. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me today for a quick update on my crafty world. It is much appreciated. If you get a chance, come on over to my Etsy shop. I have some new bags going in there. To those of you who have purchased from my Etsy shop, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so much appreciated. You know, the whole idea is to turn this into a craft that pays for itself, a hobby that pays for itself. And I think we might almost be there. Yeah. So I do have a yarn show coming up. Well, it's actually not a yarn show, but it is a fiber show, but I don't dye fiber. What are you doing there, Nicole, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. I am actually going to be vending at a spring fiber show here in Calgary that will have my project bags, my stitch markers, my patterns. I'm going to have some patterns available at the market as well. And my husband is going to be working up some wooden sock blockers and wooden granny square blockers that I will have for sale there as well. So sort of getting more onto the maker side of things. So I am having to sew up a large number of bags for that show. I'm also playing around with a new design in the shop for more of a an even larger bag, but not a drawstring bag, more of a tote bag. That could be used for a variety of purposes, mainly, of course, craft purposes, because that's what I do, but could be a multitasking type bag as well. Let me think. Other than that, I think that may be all. You know what? Let me double check my show notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Doesn't look like I'm forgetting anything. So, again, thank you so much for dropping by and spending some crafty time with me, and I will see you again probably on about March the 3rd, when I will do a quick announcement of the winners from the Colorwork Cal over in Ravelry. And yeah, then about a week after that, I should have another official podcast episode out. All right, so that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and happy hooking and happy stitching and happy crafting and all the happy things. And I will see you again in about a week's time. Bye now.